Hi guys, welcome back to the Hookery class video number 3. I promise it's the last one this week anyway. Now this is where we're going to actually pick up a crochet hook and yarn and get started. We're going to do some crochet. We're going to freeform a simple mobile phone holder. Now I know I've told you before, but if at any point I go too fast and you need me to slow down, then somewhere along the bottom here you'll see a cogwheel. Click on that. On your device it might be 3 dots or 3 lines. Get to the settings and then just slow me down to 75%, 50% or 25%. So if I go too fast, just slow me down. Before we start, we need to know how to make a slip knot. So take your yarn in your hand, lay it across the top of your fingers like that. There's your end. Wrap it around your finger twice. 1, 2. And then the back yarn comes over the front, but doesn't come off of your finger, it just goes to your fingernail. The new back yarn now comes across and it does come off your finger. And you pull up and there you have a slip knot. So let's do that again. Make sure that everything's in camera shot. Round your finger twice. The back yarn comes over the front yarn. Hold it. The new back yarn comes over and off. And there you've got your slip knot. Okay? Now this doesn't count as a stitch. You don't count this. Every crochet project will start with a slip knot of some sort. Either that or the magic ring. We'll do the magic ring another day. Not today. So there's your slip knot. Now we're going to hold our yarn. This is how I hold my yarn. Open my finger slightly, put the working yarn between my ring finger and my little finger. And then close up. It's there, but it can still come through, look. It's there, but it still comes through. I'm not holding it. I'm not holding my fingers tense. Crochet is supposed to be relaxing. So just relax. Pop that there. And then it goes across your fingers. And you just pick it up with your pointer finger. And then with your middle finger and your thumb, you hold the tail. So there's your slip knot, and that's your hold. So between those 2 fingers, pick the yarn up with your index finger, and then hold your working yarn between your middle finger and your thumb. And then you've got your crochet hook in your other hand. And if you're a lefty, it's exactly the same, just the other way around. Unfortunately, I'm not a lefty. So there's your slip knot, and we're going to chain some. So you turn your crochet hook, you grab your yarn, you put your crochet hook so that the hook part is down at the bottom of your slip knot, and you pull it through. And again, you grab your yarn. That's called yarn over. And you pull it through. And again, you grab your yarn and you pull it through. And you grab your yarn and you pull it through. And you're making chains. You can see the chains there. So if you look at this, and now let's count the chains. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 chains. You can see the V's of the chain. V, 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 V. That's 4 chains. This is a number 4 worsted weight that normally I would use a number 5mm, or not number 5, a 5mm crochet hook. For my starting chain, quite often a starting chain will be quite tight, especially on your first row when you're working into it. So just go up 1 hook size. So for this starting chain I've gone up to a 6mm hook. Grab your yarn, pull it through, grab your yarn and pull it through. And if you've never crocheted before, if this is your first time and you're doing it with me, well, thank you, I'm honoured. Just sit and practice. Just sit there for 10-15 minutes, just make chains. Don't do anything earth-shattering. Every few stitches, every few chains that you do, move your middle finger and your thumb up to grasp the chain there at the shoulders, just so that you're holding it. Now I've got no tension on my yarn here whatsoever. It's just coming through my fingers. I've seen on some of the Facebook groups where you've got girls and they've got big red blisters or the big red marks going across the tops of their fingers, where they're holding that, they're just putting so much strain and tension. But if you're using a tapered crochet hook and you're actually pulling the yarn, by the time you yarn over, by the time you're actually pulling that yarn so tight, you're making the stitches too tight to work into. They're not going to be 5mm wide stitches. They're not going to be nice and neat. Your tension goes all over the place. It looks scrappy. So just practice your chains. Sit for a little while. Take half an hour. You know, crochet is supposed to be a relaxing hobby. Once you know and you've mastered the basics, then you can worry about the more difficult things after that. But get the basics down. Take an hour out. It's only an hour. Pop a soap on or one of your favourite TV programmes on to listen to in the background. So recap, slip knot. Round your finger twice, over, and over. And then pop your hook in. Pull it tight, but not too tight. It still needs to slide up and down your hook. And then between your ring finger and your little finger, and then up and over your index finger, grasp the shoulder of the stitch with your middle finger and your thumb, yarn over and through, and yarn over and through, and yarn over and through. Now we're going to make a simple mobile phone holder. So let's get our mobile phone and we're going to freeform this. We're not going to have a pattern as such. We're just going to freeform it. So you can see the light shining. Let me get it that way. I've got a daylight light shining right above it. So let's chain the width of my phone. We need a few more. And then we're going to count the chains. And we need 2 more. So that's as wide as my phone, right? Let's count how many, let's take the hook out and count how many chains we've got. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we have 12 chains there. That means we're going to be looking for 12 stitches. So grab your mobile phone or whatever you want to make a cover for. Could be, I don't know, credit card. It might be you just want to make a little pouch, a little purse for your daughter, or maybe a little pouch for your crochet hooks to live in. Whatever you're going to freeform something, just so that you can say by the end of the evening you've made something. So here we've got 12 chains. I'm now going to swap to a 5mm because I've done that in a 6. That's slightly bigger than what I want. if I used a 5 to chain it, sometimes that can make it buckly and it can be too tight. So I'm changing to a 5. I've got 12 chains there. I'm going to chain one more because we're going to be working in single crochet, which is 1 chain high. I'm going to move my phone now. I don't need that for a while. So I'm not going to count this. If you notice, wait. Here's my 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I grab my yarn. I'm going to pinch this 12th stitch. There, I've got that pinched. I'm going to chain 1 because that's my single crochet height. That's a turning chain. And I'm going to insert my hook into the top of the chain stitch that I had pinched between my fingers, so I didn't lose that. If I did a treble or a double crochet, if that was the stitch I was going to use and I needed to chain more, say sometimes you might get a crochet pattern that says single crochet or double crochet into the 3rd chain from the hook, well, you pinch that and then you do 3 more chains and you've got that one pinched. You've saved your place, just like a little bookmark. So I've chained 1. We go into the top of the chain. This is the front loop. We'll do more on stitch anatomy next week, but the top chain, the top loop, the top strand of your chain is called the front loop. So we go into the front loop, you grab your yarn, you pull your yarn through. You now have 2 loops on the hook. You grab your yarn again and you pull it through. That's your first single crochet. So that's 1. We do it again. We go into the top of your chain, just the 1 strand. Pull a strand through, pull your yarn through, yarn over, pull that through. There's 2 single crochets. Again into the top of your chain, the front loop of the chain, yarn over, pull the loop through, yarn over, pull the loop through. Try and work loosely, but you don't want to be sloppy loose, but then you don't want to be tight tense. If you work tight tense, your shoulders will tense up, you give yourself a headache. And crochet's relaxing. Crochet's supposed to be fun. So repeat this all the way along the row. Into the top of the chain, yarn over, pull it through, yarn over, pull it through. Into the top of the chain, yarn over, pull it through, yarn over, pull it through. There's your little stitches. Like they're all coming along. Into the top of the chain, yarn over, pull it through, yarn over, pull it through. And work like that until you get to the very end one. And then we can have a quick count. This is your end one. Yarn over, pull it through and pull it through. Let's just pull that loop up a second and we'll have a count. So we should have 12. So there's 1, and you can either count the bodies of your stitches or you can count the V's. If you look along the top, I don't have a pin with me. If you look along the top, you see the V's there, the nice little V's. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We've made 12. Just pull that up a little bit. So those are 12 stitches. That's going to be the width of my mobile phone, plus a little bit more, but only a little bit. So get your 5 again. Right, so we're at the end of our row. Now some people say turn, chain 1 and do 12 back, but you're beginners. So let me just show you a tip that my nan had me do when I was a kid, because I was always losing the end stitch. When I went to go back, I always lost the end stitch. So my work would start off this wide and then finish this wide. I used to end up with just like a huge triangle that went narrower and narrower and narrower, because I always missed the end stitch when I was coming back on myself. So chain 1, and then, I know it feels awkward, pinch that stitch under the V so that you've got the V between your middle finger and your thumb. Pop your hook from the back to the front into that V under the 2 strands that make the V, and then like a book, turn your work, get your yarn, pull it through and pull it through. Shall I do that again? You've gotten to the end of your row, so that's your 12th stitch. Chain 1. So we're not counting that chain, this was our last stitch here. Put your hook from the back to the front and then turn your work. You're already in that first stitch, in that last stitch, you haven't lost it, and then pull your yarn through and pull your yarn through. And then you're going under the two strands that make up the V along the top of your work. Again, 12 stitches, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. So that's 2 rows that we've done. Now chain 1, pinch just underneath the V's between your middle finger and your thumb. From front to back, pop in your hook and turn it. Pull your yarn through, pull your yarn through. That's your first stitch. If you do that, you will never lose that end stitch, so you won't get the triangle effect. Some people find it hard and it's not easy to manipulate. They're not quite comfortable with the yarn and what they're doing. So what you could do is on the end, each end, is just pop in a stitch marker. Just mark the end of each stitch. So we've done that first one there, and there's your V. So just under that V, pop in a stitch marker, and then you won't lose either end of the 2 stitches. So in. Now what I'd like you to do, if you can, is practice, have a go at this, grow this by 2 and a bit times your mobile phone. So just keep going like that on your 12 stitches. You might have 10 stitches, you might have 15 stitches, however many stitches you have. Always make sure when you get to the end of the row, turn it the same way. I normally turn mine like a book, so mine's like this and I turn it like that. And then next time I'll turn it like that and turn it like that. I always turn it the same way it keeps for a nice straight edge. "12 stitches for 2 and a bit times your height of your mobile phone. If you carry on and do that, and I'll meet you back here once you've done it, and I'll show you how to finish it off. So you carry on there and I'll be back.